Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Monday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, 4:30 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, 4:30, I'm running late. I'm running over an hour late. And this is an unusual reason. I came across, it wasn't a lack of stories, it was too many stories. I came across about four or five different stories, and I just can't make my mind up which one to talk about. When I find a story I want to do a video on, first I'll go through the story. I'll find as many articles as I can. I'll find the best articles. I'll memorize the names, the places, the times, and all that stuff. Then I'll go through and I'll take thumbnails, or I'll take screenshots to make thumbnails for the video. Then I'll go through and download all the links to the videos, to the different reports, and then I'm about ready to make a video. And I did this 5 times this morning, and I still can't make my mind up which one to talk about, so I'm going to try to link them all together. I'm going to start off. A couple of these have to do with Texas, and one's a good story, one's a great story. It made me hopeful. I don't see, I know there's a lot of good people across this entire country, without a doubt, and I don't see a whole lot of stories that I could take joy in, to take comfort in, coming out of Texas lately. And that's not to say that Texas isn't a great state with great people, but I just can't find, I have a hard time finding anything to be happy about for the stories coming out of Texas. And I found a man I had never heard of, Texas Paul. I got a feeling you're going to hear a lot more about this guy. He's very outspoken, God bless him. I don't know how to describe this. I guarantee this guy's going to go big, and I want to be one of the first people to say his name. That's honest. That's me just being honest. Texas Paul. All right, he reminds me a little bit of the liberal redneck Trey. He reminds me a little bit of Beau the Fifth Column. He reminds me. I don't want to flatter myself, but he reminds me a little bit of me. His anger. I usually stifle my anger before I do the video because I'm monetized. And I took a look at Texas Paul, and I don't think he's monetized at all. And he's got Patreon, I think, and he sells his own swag, so he's able to be a lot more vocal. And honestly, I'm really thinking that might be the way to go, because sometimes I have such a hard time talking about what I need to talk about on this, and still attract people. It's hard to make a title to a video that is going to describe what I'm going to talk about and still get monetized. But anyway, Texas Paul, in this video, he's talking about the GOP and their direct links to, I got to watch here it goes, I can't say the word, to unscrupulous people in this country that want to cause mayhem. That sums it up. It'll be the first link down below. Texas Paul. I think you guys will watch this video. I think you'll love it. He talks about seeing his governor. I like how he takes ownership of his state, and it's Texas Paul and the Ride or Die Dems. It's called, and he's upset that his governor is associating with these people that wish to cause fear. That's the best way I could phrase this. I have to watch it. Okay. Another story I want to talk about out of Idaho, which is truly scary. 31 men arrested in a U-Haul. I got a hard time saying this. Cordell. I can't say the name. I can't say the name. It's a town. You have to excuse me. It's a town in Idaho where these guys got arrested. That'll be the second story in the links down below. These guys were going to riot at a pride event in Idaho. And luckily, somebody saw them going into the back of this U-Haul. They said these guys were all dressed up they were all masked up and everything, and carrying all sorts of suspicious stuff. And luckily, somebody in Idaho called it in. Again, this gives me hope for the country. Even in these hardcore red states, there's good people out there. And you see these guys. What I wonder about, the police had them all on the ground, and they got baggy ties. They're handcuffed, but they still have all their masks on. Their face are being hidden. And I kind of wonder about that because, you know, whenever I was arrested, that would come off first. You know, they want to, you know, police want to identify your face. They're not going to conceal your identity. And that starts to really make me wonder about, I'll be honest here, whose side the police were on in this. You know, leaving their identities all shielded during their interrogation, their arrest, really makes me suspicious. It's public property. They got pulled over. I really got some questions about that. There's a couple where one of the guys is getting handcuffed on the back of a police car, and you can see one guy's face. I think they identify one of the guys. But for the most part, I found it very strange that these guys are all handcuffed on their knees, but yet their faces are still all like, you know, their hair is barely mussed. You know what I mean? They still have their sunglasses on and everything like that, you know, so they weren't treated very roughly or harshly at all, which is quite different from what would happen to, say, a lot of other people if they were a different race or whatever in the back of a U-Haul like that. I think you would see them handled a lot differently. Okay, on to the next story. Rudy Giuliani. This is one where it's one of the latest videos from Rudy Giuliani. And it just amazes me. This is one of the ones where videos where I lose hope. Because Rudy Giuliani is just flat out lying, and he knows he's lying. He's talking about how Trump had nothing to do with January 6th. And they're standing, I can't believe people are still like, something came out, a poll that 50% of Republicans actually believe that the leftists or Democrats were the ones that engaged January 6th, the ones that breached the Capitol. And, you know, so I'm thinking not only is Rudy Giuliani lying, but people are believing him. You know what? In my mind, I don't think anybody's believing this. This is what makes me lose hope. I don't think anybody is blind enough. You know, if they have a functioning brain, they know what happened. They heard Trump. They saw him, what he said before January 6th, what he said on January 6th. You know, and it's obvious to anyone with gray matter in their skull and eyes, you know, that he was responsible for this and what was going on and who was involved. But I think, you know, they know they're lying, and that's the part that makes me just lose hope. Like I said in another video, I used to believe that 99% of Americans were good people like me, that, you know, that told the truth. They were basically honest. They would admit when they lost. They would admit when they were wrong. And I was wrong. About 50% of the country is not like that. All right, now on to the last story. This guy, this is the most troubling one. This guy is harassing. It's in Houston, Texas, and this couple is walking down the street with their two dogs. I believe it's two dogs, and this guy goes off on a rant. And this guy, I'm going to get into in a second, I could tell, I always watch body movements when I see somebody like this, you know, to read them. When I used to get in trouble, when I used to get in altercations, that was the biggest thing, is reading people, watching every little, how they stood, the shoulder movements, their eyes, everything. And I watched this guy, and first of all, I started to think that maybe he is, you know, he's not even all there, because the stuff that he's saying, the biased stuff that he is saying isn't even correct. He's basically listing all these different groups: Jewish people, African American people, Mexicans, and he's going through all these people. The people that he was yelling at, I believe the woman was Asian and the man was Caucasian. So I think he even calls him chief at one point, which brings in the American. He's going after the Native Americans, and it just leads me to believe that this guy's unhinged. The thing that bothered me the most about this video, the link will be down below. I encourage you to watch this one. It's troubling. Is that this guy could walk in Texas, in Houston? This guy could walk into any gun store. There's a million of them in Texas, and walk out with God knows what. And you see the unhinged anger that this guy has. The thing I notice most is this guy is a coward. He goes, you know, he's a coward. I've seen this several times. Is they go after people that aren't going to fight back, And the more that the coward notices, that sees that the other people aren't going to fight back, they get more emboldened. And that's what this guy did. He went to actually approach them. He starts marching over. And he walks on the back of his heels. So that's something that I noticed. To me, he seems like he could be taken off balance really quick. And the dogs, if it weren't for the dogs, I think he would. He did an abrupt 180 and went back and continued with his harangue from the other side of the street. I think he was seriously afraid of the dogs. And then he gets up in front of the couple and he blocks the sidewalk. To me, this is an ultimate coward move. Is that this guy, he first of all, he's picking on people he doesn't even know for no reason. But second of all, he already tried, he tried to have screw up his courage to go towards them, and he couldn't do that. So then he took the position that he was going to block the sidewalk and make them come to him. To me, it screams coward from all angles. The thing that scares me most is, like I said, is that this guy, just unhinged anger. And the way he's just riffing off all this random stuff about different groups makes me think that this guy spends a lot of time in front of the computer looking at these 4chan, 8chan, and all that stuff, and just, it scares me. This is what these red flag laws that we want to pass, this is the exact kind of people that they're for. All right, so the links will all be down below. I apologize if this wasn't one of the usual videos, but I wanted to get this out. I wanted to talk about all 4 stories. So the links will all be down below. You guys have a great Monday.